So I'm prepared. I'm definitely prepared. Hi guys, it's Sarah. Welcome back to another video here on this channel. I hope you guys are doing well. I am having a long and crazy filming day. So we just talked about the Vampire Diaries and now we're jumping into the next couple episodes from Once Upon a Time. I hope you're ready. This is a gear change for me. So I'm prepared. I'm definitely prepared. I just wanted to say thank you so much for the support on last week's video for the beginning of this series. I'm glad you guys are excited. I was hoping you would be. If you guys are new to the channel or finding me through this series, I hope you'll consider sticking around and subscribing. I make Once Upon a Time videos on Mondays, and then on Fridays I do Vampire Diaries content. So we're just recapping both shows right now, long form style. I talk a lot. Hey guys, this is Editing Sarah. I'm just popping in to let you guys know that I set up memberships and supers. You can check them out down below. There is absolutely no pressure to do any of that kind of stuff. I'm not quite to the point where I can put monetization fully on my channel, but this is just kind of like the beginning things that I can do. And I am now officially a YouTube partner, which is really exciting. I thought I had to wait until 1K. I guess that's only like to be fully qualified. So once we hit 1K, then we can do ads, which is just crazy. I can't believe we're so close to that goal, and I'm really thankful for you guys for getting me to this point. This is like really exciting. So I just wanted to share. If YouTube memberships aren't really your thing, I am also trying to figure out Patreon and getting that set up. My YouTube ones are kind of set now, but my Patreon ones I'm still working on, and I know those can be kind of moved around and shifted a little bit more fluidly than the YouTube ones. So yeah, just let me know what you guys would be interested in from me as far as that kind of content goes. And that's what I'm working on behind the scenes. So, okay, I'll let you get back to the video. All right, so without further ado, let's get into episode 2. We open with the clock tower just tick, tick, ticking away, which is huge because, as Henry said, it's never moved in his entire life and the boy is 10 years old. Mary Margaret sees the clock moving while she's eating breakfast and she just smiles. She's so excited. We get some nice establishing shots of like the town opening for the day. So the inn's getting set up, Archie's walking his dog, Mr. Gold's walking around with his cane, you know, the normal stuff. Regina finds missing pages in Henry's storybook, but he won't tell her where they are. She's pretty hard on him here, and she's like, you know what, Henry, at least Emma and this book are no longer a problem for you. And Henry just smiles. Then the clock chimes and Regina is just pissed. Regina sees Emma's car and goes to find her at Granny's. When Emma opens her door, Regina's just standing there with like a bushel of apples, and she's like, Honey Crisp apple? And they're definitely like not Honey Crisps. Like, am I crazy? This is a Red Delicious, isn't it? This is not a Honey Crisp apple. What am I looking at? Emma is like, yeah, I'm not leaving town. This is the second time you've threatened me. She's absolutely going to be staying and keeping an eye on Henry. Regina's like, what's threatening about an apple? And Emma is like, yeah, I can read between the lines, lady. Emma is just really, really protective of Henry, like already. She's only known him at this point for like 24 hours, and she's just like, yeah, I'm not leaving this kid alone. I gotta make sure he's safe. And this just pisses Regina off. We cut to a flashback of the evil queen leaving Snow and Charming's wedding, but this time it's from her point of view. So she gets back to her castle, and then the sword that Charming threw like stabs into the wall behind her head. There's an older man in her room, this guy, and he offers her a drink and asks if she's okay. Her magic mirror, this guy, is talking, and he's like, why would you make such a big promise? Like, where are you gonna get magic like that? What are you gonna do? How are you gonna make such a curse? She says all she needs is the dark curse. Older man and the mirror freak out because they're like, oh my god, you're gonna have to get that back from her though. She's not gonna be happy to see you. Apparently, the evil queen traded her curse away, and whoever it is that has it is not gonna want to give it back. But the queen does not care, and she's just like, I'm going to the Forbidden Forest. We cut to the queen with another woman. This lady here, this is Maleficent. I know, isn't she fun? So the queen wants her curse back, And Maleficent is like, yeah, you can't have it. I traded you my sleeping curse, fair and square. The dark curse is hidden inside the staff that Maleficent carries around. They get into a fight together, and this is the first time we get to see like combat magic, so that's really cool. The evil queen ends up making a shot for Maleficent's new pet horse, and Maleficent stops that attack, but in that like distraction scuffle moment, it's enough for the evil queen to get the upper hand and get the curse. And she's like, love is weakness. Before the evil queen can leave, Maleficent is like, please don't use the curse. It will leave an emptiness in you and a hole that you'll never be able to fill. And the queen just does not care and is like, I'm doing it anyway, and leaves. We cut again, still in a flashback, to the evil queen with like a group of storybook villains, and she basically explains to them that they need to give her a lock of hair so that she has hair from all the darkest souls. Then she pulls out a heart that is apparently from her prized horse, like her childhood horse, and she's like, this is the heart of the thing I love most. She starts the spell, but once she throws in the heart, the fire like grows really big and then fizzles and burns out, and all the villains start laughing at her, so she turns one of the gnomes into stone. We go back to the present and we see that same little garden gnome, now a statue in her apple garden. The guy who was the magic mirror shows up. He now runs a paper called The Mirror, and he ran a story on Emma to give like a scathing review of her to the town. All the info he could get on Emma though is like really basic and not worth it. Basically what she's already told us, which is that she was a foster kid, she bounced around a lot, and then she just sort of disappeared and then gave birth to Henry. That's it. While Emma is having breakfast at Granny's diner, Graham sends her a hot cocoa. She likes cinnamon on her chocolate. This is important. She goes over to him and is like, this is very sweet. I love that you did this, but I'm not here to flirt, okay? I'm here to look after Henry, and then I'm gonna go. And then Graham is like, yeah, I didn't send you that. And then Henry pops up over the edge of a seat and is like, I actually sent it to you. I like cinnamon on my chocolate too. So she walks Henry to school and asks him about his mom and how things are going. He says he's not really mad at Regina because it's not her fault. She's technically just also under the curse, and she is the evil queen. So that's just kind of how she is as a person. She can't help it. He explains a little bit more about how everyone in town doesn't have memories about how they even got to Storybrooke. They just showed up there one day and they've just been waiting for Emma to come and save them. Like, they need to be reminded who they are, and then that way they can break the curse. Henry took out the end of the book because those are the pages that have Emma in it, and he doesn't want Regina to find out who she is. So he wants Emma to read the pages, and he gives them to her, but he's like, please promise me you won't show my mom. They start calling their plan Operation Cobra because it has nothing to do with fairy tales, and Regina will never understand what it means. Emma goes to eat the apple that she got from Regina, and he's like, absolutely not, don't eat that, and he throws it away into the street. Mary Margaret catches Emma outside the school and says it's really nice to see Henry so happy. We learn here that Regina has been mayor for so long that nobody's ever even run against her because they're so scared of her. This is also when Emma learns that Henry thinks that Mary Margaret is Snow White, meaning that Mary Margaret would be her mom. Emma is stunned beyond words. Mary Margaret's like, who does he think you are? And Emma's like, oh, nobody. I'm not in the book. A small plot hole here is that if Mary Margaret gave Henry the storybook, wouldn't she have theoretically read the storybook, and wouldn't she know about the random fairy tale character named Emma that happens to be the child of Snow White? And wouldn't she think it's kind of strange that Henry thinks she's Snow White and now there's a woman in town named Emma? That doesn't get mentioned. Nobody figures that out. Emma goes to see Archie, which, remember, is Henry's therapist. He doesn't think it's really appropriate to talk to her, and she's like, I know you can't talk to me about his sessions and stuff. Can you just kind of talk to me about the fairy tale situation? I mean, it's crazy, right? Like, that's a crazy thing for him to believe. Archie is like, I hope you don't use that word with Henry. That could be really damaging to him. You know, this is how he's processing his emotions and moving through the world, and we don't want to squash his imagination. We just want to help him realize what's real and what's fantasy. Emma says that what could be so bad that it's made him kind of have this warped image of stuff, and she thinks it must be Regina. Archie agrees that Regina is pretty complicated, but she does love and care about Henry and want the best for him. But all of her attempts to get close to Henry always seem to backfire. Then he gives her Henry's file, which is so unbelievably illegal, but he says, Henry seems to really care about you. You seem to be really important to him, and I want you to help if you can. The second Emma leaves, Archie calls Regina, and he's like, you were right. She came here. I gave her the file like you asked. So Emma is in her room at the inn reading Henry's file, and Graham shows up. He says that Archie called it in, and Emma came in, berated Archie, and then snuck in and stole Henry's file. Emma's like, yeah, that's not what happened. He gave it to me. He told me to take it. Graham's like, okay, sure. That's not what he said. Can I search your room? She lets him in and she's like, it's right here. I'm not hiding it from you because Archie gave it to me. Why would I lie about that? Graham's like, I don't know, but you're under arrest. She says, you know I'm being set up, don't you? And Graham is like, who would be doing that to you? Regina goes to school and gets Henry in the middle of class. She tells him that Emma stole from Archie and she's a con woman who's been lying and just trying to get closer to them. So now she left. Regina finishes it by being like, I'm really sorry this happened. And Henry's like, no, you're not. And Regina's like, okay, Henry, things are gonna get better from now on, I promise. And he just leaves. At the jail, Emma is trying to convince Graham to see what she sees, which is that Regina must have convinced Archie to do this. But Graham is like, you know, Regina's a lot of things, but I don't think she would do a whole frame job. Like, why would she even do this to you? It just doesn't make any sense. Henry shows up. Emma tries to explain to him what happened, and Henry's like, oh, I'm not mad. I know you were just gathering intel. Like, it's okay. It's not a big deal. Also, Mary Margaret's gonna bail you out of jail. Emma's like, why would you do that? And Mary Margaret says, oh, I trust you. So Emma takes a chainsaw and cuts down half of Regina's favorite apple tree. This is the apple tree that she's been talking about, and she's told us that she tended to it since she was a child. Yikes. Regina goes running outside and she's like, what do you think you're doing? What's the meaning of this? This is freaking town property. And Emma is like, mess with me one more freaking time, dude. You've got no idea what I'm capable of. You don't know who I am. I will end you. Back in the Enchanted Forest, that same older man is trying to convince Regina not to do the spell because it will hurt her, but she's very insistent and she's like, I have to do it. This is what I have to do. So he suggests that she go back to the person that made the curse and see if they'll tell her what she did wrong and why it didn't work. So she goes to see Rumple, this guy, and he teases her about how worried she is about the curse not working. He then tells her that Snow and Charming are also worried about the curse and that the only way to stop it is going to be their unborn child. She asks what she did wrong, and he says he'll tell her, but in exchange, she has to make sure that in the new life that she's making for all of them, he is set up and comfortable, and anytime he comes to her, as long as he says please, she has to do what he says. She agrees. He says she used the wrong heart. She's like, but I used the heart of my favorite horse. He reaches through the bars and grabs her and pulls her in, and he's like, you think the heart from an animal would be good enough for this? This is the most powerful curse imaginable. You have to use something with more meaning. You have to figure out what you love and go and kill it. And he's so evil in this scene. Again, my friends, Robert Carlyle is amazing. He is worth watching this show for. I'm not even kidding. Every scene with him in it, I love. She tells him that the heart of the thing she loved most died because of Snow White, and he's like, there's gotta be something else, okay? There's a new something you love most, all right? Go kill it. Emma goes back to the inn, and Granny stops her and is like, I'm so sorry, I need your room key. The mayor just called and reminded me that felons can't stay in the inn. Town ordinance, sorry. So Emma got kicked out. The mayor wants Emma arrested yet again for cutting down the apple tree, and at this point, Graham puts his foot down and he's like, I don't think that that's like the best idea. He thinks Emma was telling the truth about being set up for the files, and while he doesn't directly call Regina out, he's like, I just think we should be careful about pushing Emma more. It seems like she's willing to do whatever she needs to do to make her point, okay? Regina insists that she's right and Emma needs to leave because that's better for Henry, and Graham very gently is like, you know, that's my point, kind of. I think you should remember that Henry's in the middle of this, and you pushing Emma away is just gonna upset him more and more. So Regina calls Emma and she's like, why don't you come to my office? I think we should catch up. I think we should talk because clearly you're not gonna leave town and my son wants you here, so let's discuss it. Emma goes to meet her and she's like, I have no intention of taking Henry away from you. That is not what I want at all. I just want to make sure he's okay. She then tells Regina more about the fairy tale situation and how it's just kind of crazy that he believes all of this and really thinks it's real. And then we see Henry behind her and he's like, you think I'm crazy? And he runs away. Emma turns back to Regina and is like, how long was he standing there? And Regina is like, oh, long enough to hear exactly what you really think about him. Emma's like, this was another setup. Did you know he would be here? And Regina's like, you mean, did I know that my son comes every Thursday to my office precisely at 5 p.m. so that I can take him to dinner before I take him to his therapy lesson? Yes, I did. Because he's my son. Your move. Bitch. Emma's like, you have no soul. How did you get like this? That language hurts Regina. I'm not gonna lie, she looks a little bit upset once Emma storms out of the office. We go back to the flashback of Regina returning to her castle. Magic Mirror is like, did you find out what happened? Did you get your answer? But she's ignoring him. The older man is lighting the candles in her room and kind of setting it up for her. And he's like, did you find out what you needed to know? She says, I don't know if I should say. He's like, well, how bad could it be? Maybe I could help. She says, with her back to him, I have to cut out the heart of the thing I love most. Behind her, he goes, me. She turns to him, and I shit you not, she says, Daddy, I don't know what to do. In his defense, he doesn't freak out. He just calmly is like, you don't have to do this. He asks her to stop worrying about Snow White and just start over. They can try again, they could move, they don't have to worry about snow anymore. But she says that if she does that, then she's letting go of everything she's ever worked for, and what was the point of any of it? He says power is seductive, but so is love. And if she just stops the madness and starts over with him, they can be that way again. It can be okay. She hugs him and is like, I just want to be happy. And he's like, you can be happy here. We can be happy together, but it's your choice. She pulls back and is like, I think you're right. I think I can be happy. He smiles at her. And then she says, but just not here, and rips her own father's heart out. He falls to the floor and she just goes, I'm sorry. Girl, what? Emma goes to see Mary Margaret, thanks her, and pays her back for the bail money. Mary Margaret invites her inside and makes her cocoa with cinnamon on top, and then is like, oh, I'm sorry, I should have asked. That's a weird quirk of mine. Kill me. Mary Margaret also lives in this huge, gorgeous, beautiful, exposed brick loft. Like, it's amazing. Emma is like, why did you say you could trust me? And Mary Margaret explains that from the time they've met, it just feels like they've known each other before, and she just knows Emma's telling the truth and she's innocent. Emma says she's gonna leave to keep Henry from being hurt, and Mary Margaret is like, you know, I think the reason why you think you need to leave is why you should actually stay. You care about Henry, you don't want to see him get hurt, and who's gonna protect him if you don't? Archie's in session with Henry, but he will not talk to him, and then Emma bursts in. She says that the only reason why she agreed to stay in town was because of him. She wanted to stay and get to know him and find out more about him. He is not crazy. This idea about the curse is crazy, and it's a lot to ask anybody to believe in, but that doesn't mean that it couldn't be true. She also lies a little bit here and says that she only told Regina what Regina needed to hear, because the only way to beat the curse is to trick the queen into thinking that she doesn't even believe in it. So she can't stop her if she doesn't even think it's real. This works on Henry and he thinks it's brilliant, and he's like, Operation Cobra is still a go. She says the pages he gave her were really dangerous and she burns them to ensure that Regina never gets a hold of them. Henry hugs her and it ends up being a really sweet moment. He says that he knew she was there to help him, and she says that she is, and nothing's gonna stop that. We go back to Regina doing the curse. This time she's by herself. She uses her father's heart. It works. And the gray-purple smoke like erupts from the fire as the curse begins. Then we see Regina go to her father's grave, and her father's name is Henry Mills. In the present, Mr. Gold goes to see Regina while she's tending to her apple tree. She's all happy that she got rid of Emma finally, and he's like, oh, that's really funny because I just saw her on Main Street with Henry and they looked super close. If she really wanted to get rid of Emma, she should have come to him and he could have offered her a deal. But she says she doesn't do dealings with him anymore. He reminds her that he's the one that found Henry for her. And oh, by the way, where exactly did you pick the name Henry? It's a lovely name. She starts figuring out that he must have planned for her to adopt Henry, and she's like, who is Emma? Do you know who she is? He says, it seems you already know who she is. She tries to force him to like spell it out for her, but he refuses, and then he's like, I suggest you get out of my way, please. She looks after him while he walks away, and she's just like, oh my God. Does he know? This whole time, has he known? All right, episode 3 is wild. Strap in. We open with Prince Charming in a carriage, and he looks over to the person across from him, and he's like, what do you think of the view, dear? It's not Snow White, it's this lady. She's super rude. She's like, I don't care about the view. How long until we get there? He's distracted by a little velvet pouch that he's got in his lap, and then the carriage stops because there's a fallen tree in the road. He realizes that the tree has been cut down and placed in the road just as somebody like swoops into the carriage and steals that bag he was messing with and runs away. They get a horse and just run away. Charming runs off after them on his own horse. He tackles them, and when he goes to punch them in the face, they rip their hood off, and it's Snow. He's like, you're a girl? And then she takes a rock and bashes him in the head and runs off again. He yells after her, you can't hide from me. I will find you. I mean, talk about a meet cute. Like, just imagine you meet your husband, the father of your child, and the first thing you do to him is bash his head in with a rock. You can't make that up. You can't make that up. Then we go to Mary Margaret in the present on a date with this guy. He played freaking Uncle John in the Vampire Diaries. I can't escape him. He's everywhere. He's distracted and just looking at Ruby while she leans over a table and cleans it because he's disgusting. Mary Margaret leaves the date very sad and like worn down about it, and then she runs into Emma, who's staying in her car. Mary Margaret offers for Emma to stay with her, but Emma is like, no, it's okay. I don't really do the roommate thing. I'll be fine. Henry is with Charming at the hospital and sees the little scar that Snow gave him with the rock. Mary Margaret comes in and sees Henry with him and is like, oh, I know, this is a really sad one. You know, he doesn't have any family. Nobody ever comes in to check on him. Nobody's ever claimed him. He's all alone. Henry goes to Emma and is like, dude, great news. I found your dad. He says he's in the hospital and they need to tell Mary Margaret because that's her soulmate. Emma is like, yeah, I don't know if we should tell her that because he's in a coma, Henry. That might not be the nicest thing we could do. Henry thinks that Mary Margaret needs to read the story of Snow White and Prince Charming to Charming in the bed, and then he'll wake up and that'll break the curse for him. So Emma agrees, but she's like, let me ask, okay? So she goes to Mary Margaret and she explains it to her, kind of in the sense of like, you know how Henry believes in this crazy thing with the curse? This is the new thing he's fixated on. Do you think you could help me? Like, if you read to him and then he doesn't wake up because the curse isn't real, and Mary Margaret is like, oh, this would help him see that none of this is real and none of this is happening. Okay, I'll do it. So Mary Margaret goes to the hospital and she apologizes to Charming. She's like, I'm sorry, I know this is weird. I made a promise to a friend. She reads the story to him, and all of a sudden he reaches out, like she's holding the book, and he reaches out and puts his hand on her hand. So Mary Margaret runs and gets the doctor, which is unfortunately the jerky guy that she went on a date with. His name is Dr. Whale. He says, I think you imagined it. Maybe you dozed off or something, but he's not waking up. Nothing's wrong. And she's like, no, you don't understand. He was waking up, but he's a jerk about it. And he's like, yeah, no, you should go. He didn't wake up. Nothing happened. He convinces her to leave, And then he calls Regina immediately and is like, remember that John Doe you told me to keep a watch on? Yeah, we've got a problem. There was fluctuation in his brain activity. Mary Margaret is back home reading the rest of the story, and we get more flashbacks while she's doing that. We see Snow packing up her camp and running away, and then she gets trapped by a trap that Charming set. She makes fun of him and she's like, well, you're a real Prince Charming, aren't you? He tries to give her his real name and she's like, no, Charming suits you, which is why we all call him Charming, because that's what she calls him, because it's a cute little freaking nickname. The way that the stories like overlap and come together is so fun, okay? It's so fun. I love it. He says he'll let her go. He just wants the bag that she took from him because it had jewelry in it that's important to him. She's like, of course you're just worried about your jewels. I don't have them anymore. I sold them. He says there was a ring inside and it's his mother's ring and he needs it for his fiance. She's like, you're gonna marry that girl? Oh my God, I'm so sorry. There's no way you love her. This is a contract marriage. You are in an impossibly sad situation. I feel pity for you. Oh my God, this is the worst. He tries to step in and be like, it's not a contract marriage. It's a merger between our countries, and by getting married, we're going to unite the kingdoms. And she's like, yeah, rich people suck, and you guys never get to marry for love, and that's really sad. But then he's like, you know what? It doesn't matter what you think about me because I know who you are, Snow White. And he's like, yeah, I'm gonna turn you over to the Queen's forces unless you help me. She agrees because she is very scared of the evil queen. Mary Margaret goes to meet Emma and Henry at Granny's, and she's like, okay, so I know I was supposed to tell you guys that nothing happened, but he started to wake up. He grabbed my hand. Henry is like, we have to go back there. You have to read to him again. So Henry runs off. Emma stops Mary Margaret and she's like, you don't really believe all of this, do you? Like, what the heck? I thought you were on my side. Mary Margaret's like, I don't believe that he's Prince Charming, but I did connect to him. Like somehow, some way, I got through to him. I don't understand it, but I think Henry's right. I need to keep reading to him. They go to the hospital and Charming is missing. Regina is standing in his hospital room looking smug as hell. Henry blames Regina right away and says that she must have done something, but Regina is like, would you calm down, Henry? I'm here because I'm his emergency contact. I'm the one that found him. The doctor explains that, yeah, they need to find him right away because he's been on life support for a long time and he does not need to be running around in the woods in just a little hospital gown. Regina takes Henry with her when they go to search so that he can't run off again. Graham is leading the investigation, but the security team, which is Grumpy and another dwarf, didn't see anything. Emma realizes that the tape they're looking at is wrong. When they watch the real tape, they see Charming get up out of bed, walk through the hallway, and go out a door that leads to the woods, and he's completely alone. So they're like, we don't know what happened, but he woke up and nobody took him, so he's by himself somewhere. We go back to Snow and Charming, hunting down the ring. She keeps messing with a necklace that she's got around her neck. He snatches it from her, and it's this little vial of fairy dust. It's like dark, like ash looking dust. She explains that it's from a dark fairy, and it's really hard to come by, and it can be used on your biggest enemies to turn them into something squashable. She's planning to use it on the queen. She says that the evil queen is evil. She knows that the charges against her are completely lies, but that didn't stop the evil queen from sending a huntsman after her who was supposed to cut out her heart. That guy thankfully knew that Snow didn't actually need to be killed, so he let her go, but she's been on the run this whole time. So all she's been trying to do is save enough money so that she can go off on her own since the queen wants her dead. He asks what she did to make the queen hate her so much, because there had to have been something. Even if the wanted posters are lying, she must have done something. Snow says the evil queen blames her for ruining her life. Charming is like, did you do that? And she's like, yes, I did. They stop at a stream to drink some water, and Snow ends up attacking him, knocking him into the stream. She runs off, but she runs to the road and ends up getting cornered by some of the queen's guard, and Charming still has her freaking dust. In the forest, Graham, Mary Margaret, and Emma are tracking Charming, and then the trail goes cold. The girls are like, great, what are we gonna do now? But Graham is like, would you guys relax? This is my world. I'm very good at tracking. Give me a minute. Both the girls are like, okay, what do you mean you're a world? We're standing in the woods right now. But he just wanders off to do his thing. Emma explains that she's good at finding people like in an internet sleuthing way where she can put together information about them and track them down. She's not good at like an in nature tracking kind of way. Mary Margaret asks if she became a bail bonds person and got good at tracking people because she was looking for her parents, and did Emma ever find them? Emma says, "Ooh, well, that depends on who you ask." Henry shows up and says that Charming is lost because he's looking for Mary Margaret. In the flashback, when Snow got cornered by the guards, she is about to get her heart cut out, but then Charming shows up and saves her. She tries to steal a horse, but then she's snatched by one of the remaining guards, so they run off with her, and Charming chases them with a bow and arrow and shoots the guard and saves her. Second time. He just wants to go back to searching for the jewels, like she didn't knock him out at the stream and run away from him, and so she just goes along with it. She's like, yeah, okay, we have to go to the troll bridge. Emma and Mary Margaret are like, Henry, you cannot be in the woods with us right now. We have to get you back to your mom. He says no, and that he wants to stay with them. Then Graham calls them over, and they find Charming's hospital bracelet with blood on it. Snow and Charming go to the troll bridge. The trolls come out and they are so funny. They're kind of like the orcs from Lord of the Rings. And they're just like, who is this guy? Who's he? What's he doing here? What's going on? Why'd you bring a friend? You can't just bring a friend to a troll bridge meeting. Who is this guy? What's going on? And Snow is like, relax, relax. He's with me. He's cool. It's like a drug deal, okay? They think that Charming is a narc. She wants to buy back the ring, and they agree, but then Charming is absolutely uncool, and he's like, thank you so much for this. We appreciate it a lot. The trolls freak out, and they're like, he's too eager. He's a royal. He's a royal. Alert, alert. And they start freaking out and fighting with Snow and Charming. While they search Charming, they find the wanted poster for Snow and realize that if they turn her in, that's a lot of money. So now they're going to kidnap Snow and give her over to the Queen's Guard. Charming grabs a sword and starts fighting. Snow grabs the dust bottle that was dropped when the trolls were searching him because they didn't know what it was, and she runs off. Charming is overpowered, and once Snow realizes that she ran off and he didn't follow her, she does go back and she saves him. She uses the dust and it turns the trolls into little cockroaches that you could just step on. We find out that his name is James. The group in the woods find Charming passed out at the base of the toll bridge. I know, genius. Mary Margaret is like, I found you. It's okay. You're gonna be okay. Come back to us. Come back to me. They think he's dead because he's not breathing. He's passed out in the water. So Emma is like holding Henry and being like, don't look. Do not look. This is so bad. I cannot believe you're here with me right now. This is gonna give you so much more trauma. Mary Margaret gives Charming CPR. You know, like she kisses him, and he wakes up and he's like, you saved me. Henry is like, she did it. She woke him up. And Emma is shook to her absolute core. Mary Margaret is like, who are you? But he says he doesn't know. They go back to the hospital, okay? And Mary Margaret is like, I can't believe this happened. I can't believe this worked. This is crazy. Everybody's so excited. You can tell that Mary Margaret is like, is this my fairy tale? Is this my moment? And then a woman comes in, and it's this woman. The lady in the carriage with Charming, and she's crying, and she's like, where is he? Where's David? David, where are you? David? Mary Margaret is like, who's that? And Regina pops up into frame and is like, oh, she's his wife. So back in the past, Snow and Charming now have the ring. He teases her and he's like, I know this probably isn't your thing. Like, you don't seem like a jewelry girl. She takes it though and she puts it on and it's a perfect freaking fit. And she's like, yeah, you're right. I don't like jewelry. That was weird, and gives it back to him. They start to part ways and she's like, at least we both got what we wanted. They did not. They are both upset. He says, if you ever need anything. She says, you'll find me. He says, always. I want to throw up. If y'all really want to be upset, I would like to point out now that Charming and Snow, the actors that play them, are married in real life and they have children together. Yeah, I know. So back in the present, Regina explains to Mary Margaret and Emma that, yeah, surprise, his name is David and he's married, and she found his wife and brought her back to him. Henry is very upset, and Regina is like, no more, Henry. We'll talk about your insubordination later. You're grounded. What kind of mom uses language like insubordination? This is what I'm talking about. Like, ma'am, you are a regular, everyday civilian. Act like it. So the wife comes out to thank Mary Margaret for saving David. And Mary Margaret's like, yeah, I would like to know why you didn't come get him until now. Like, what exactly happened that kept you from coming to get him? You didn't check? You didn't look for him? Why are you just now showing up? And the wife is like, oh, I know, it looks really bad, but you know, David and I, our marriage wasn't perfect, and we had a fight, and I told him to leave, and he did, and then when he didn't come back, I just assumed that I'd gotten what I asked for and he'd left town. But now she's so happy because she gets a second chance, and she can tell him she's sorry, and they can start all over together. No. The doctor comes out and is like, so David has no memory. But for some reason, his first instinct when he woke up was to go and find something. Henry is like, or someone. On his way out, Henry stops and insists to Mary Margaret that David was looking for her. He was going to the toll bridge, aka the troll bridge, to find Snow White because he knew he needed to look for her. Emma goes after Regina and Henry and is like, you know, I agree with the kids. Something's fishy here. Why didn't the hospital put his information in the paper and say that there was an unclaimed John Doe? Does anybody know who he is? Why didn't the wife look for him more? Why did she magically, wonderfully, amazingly turn up out of the blue right now tonight, the night he wakes up? It's very convenient. Regina says that Emma is actually the reason why they found her, because Emma suggested they check the security footage. That led them to check all of it on the John Doe's room, and it turns out that he's been calling out to a Catherine in his sleep, which is Mrs. Nolan's name. Then Regina says that she can forgive how rude Emma's being because this whole situation has reminded her how thankful she is to have Henry, because not having someone is the worst curse imaginable. She's so evil. She's so evil. Did you pick up on what she's saying? She's basically just taunting Emma and being like, doesn't it just suck that Charming and Snow can't ever get back together? Oh, boo-hoo, that's so sad for them. She's so evil. She's so evil. She's such a good villain though. Oh my God, Lana does such a good job with this character. She is so villainous. She's like the perfect evil queen. Like the acting, the costumes, the writing, it all just comes together and she is just perfection. So David is hugging Catherine in his hospital bed, okay, because he's awake and he's hugging her. But he's looking through the window at Mary freaking Margaret, who's watching all this unfold. She is heartbroken. We pan down to her hands and we see that she's wearing the ring. It's not on her left ring finger though, okay? It's on her right middle finger, because she doesn't know what it is. It's just a ring that she has. It's not a wedding ring in this world. Oh my God, hi, okay. So I have a cat now. The final shot of this episode is Emma showing up at Mary Margaret's door and being like, hey, is that room still available? Mary Margaret smiles and lets her inside. That's where we're gonna stop today, guys. I hope you enjoyed. We have pretty much met our core cast now. We know who most of them are. There's gonna be a couple more people that pop up, but this is kind of like the main family unit, okay? Snow, Charming, Regina, Emma, Henry. Most important players right now. If you guys enjoyed the video, please consider giving it a like. I'd love to talk to you guys down below about what your thoughts are, what you're excited about. We do try to tag spoilers, so they're welcome down below. Just make sure, you tag. I've seen most of the show, and I pretty much know what happens even on the seasons I didn't watch. I was a part of the Once Upon a Time Tumblr fandom. I still am, technically, but I was a part of it in like its prime, so I got pretty much everything spoiled for me at one time or another. Just a small reminder that I do videos on Mondays and Fridays, so if you're new to the channel, there will be a video on Friday going up about the Vampire Diaries, and then on Mondays, those are my Once Upon a Time days. I hope you guys are doing so well wherever you are, and I hope you're having a great day. I'll see you so soon. Have a good one. Bye!